Okay, we're going to start at the bottom of Lamed and Aleph. 30A on the bottom. Okay. Tanya, we learned in the Beitzah. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer Hamalveh Moses a Kohen. Person lends money to a Kohen. Es Halevi bebezdin. The loan was given over in court. Umesu. So the Mishnah tells us that if it was done in the presence of the court, you don't have to consult with the heirs, with the Yorshim, whether they're agreeable, whether he could take their portion. The heirs are the equivalent of the father. You're actually, even though the man is no longer alive, you're able to tithe it and take the portion of the shevet. I mean, the Kohanim, it's theirs, it's mom and shevet, it's the money belongs to the shevet of the Kohanim or the Leviim. You could take that portion because it was done best. Hefker best and hefker. You know, it's interesting. And we rule that if Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, we don't blow the shofar. Why? So the Gemara says in Yevamis, because Yesh Koch v'Yacham Lakadov Minator B'Shiv Al Taseh. They have the ability to annul a mitzvah as long as when you're not performing it, you're in a passive state. What? No, that's the call. But how do they do it? That's the reason, because they're concerned you may transport the shofar, but if Torah says you should blow the shofar, how could they uproot the mitzvah? The answer is because when it's non-performance. It's not you're proactively violating the Torah. Passively, you're not performing the mitzvah. You're in a non-performance mode. Okay? So that's called Shev Al Taseh. But the Gemara says B'kum Vaseh. But to uproot a mitzvah where it's B'kum Vaseh, that they seem they cannot do. They cannot do. No. That's not adding, subtracting. No, that's not the reason. Adding, subtracting. So what about if they tell you not to perform the mitzvah? Wasn't that no. Every takana, every rabbinic enactment wasn't adding to the Torah. The answer was the purpose is to protect the Torah. Whenever it's to protect, it's not called adding or subtracting or detracting from the Torah. Right? That's clear. So the question is, so B'kum Vaseh, they're not able to do it. So even though when we studied Avodah Zorah, Tosha says, when the Gemara says, Ein koch v'yaflach kadov min haTorah B'kum Vaseh, proactively, to uproot it, that's only that they don't do it. Shev Al Taseh they do, the others they don't. Are they empowered? If they choose to, they can. They can legislate something to uproot the mitzvah. To uproot the mitzvah if they choose to. Okay? Tosha says that when a king would die, they would take his horse and they would cut off its hooves, that no one else should be able to ride that horse. So Tosha asks, if you're of the opinion that you're not permitted to inflict pain on the animal, it's a Torah violation. How do you do it? Right? So Tosha says, for the sake of honoring the king, although it's an Issa D'Oraisa, and although we normally say, because here actively they're actually bringing pain onto the horse, onto the animal, since it's for the sake of it's for a special circumstance, that becomes the overriding factor. They do it. So when it says they can't, doesn't mean they can't. It means they don't. But if the circumstance would depend that they should, they would. That's what Tosha says in Avodah Zarah. They have the power. They have the power, but they don't use the power. Shev Al Taseh, that's where they implement this concept. So let's talk about it over here. It's important. There's a mitzvah that if you have truma, there's a mitzvah you give it to the Kohen. Right? So we spoke about Makiri Kuna. I mean, the Gemara asked the question, how could you have this agreement with the Kohen? The moment's Mammon HaShevet. It belongs to the Kohanim. Right? So Gemara says, no, he has his exclusive Kohen. So it's as if he's the only Kohen in the world. Or a third party takes possession and returns it to him. Right? So you give it. So when you're giving it to the third party, you fulfill the mitzvah of what? Of giving truma. There's a mitzvah to give truma. Correct? And now you're retaining it. Now you receive it back. It's like you gave it to Kohen, you return. So you fulfilled the mitzvah. Here we're saying that if the loan is done in Bezdin, we say you have a right to take the money of the shevet. Of the shevet. Because you never gave truma. Right? There's a mitzvah to give truma. Did you give truma? Is he accredited for giving? He's not credited for giving truma. That means he's withholding with the truma, and he didn't give it to the Kohen. Is that called passive, or that's called active? There's a mitzvah to take the truma that you tithe and give it away. Did he ever give this away?
Oh, you mean physically?
It has to enter into the. You have to cause it should enter into the domain of the Kohen.
So that truma that he took for himself, he now didn't fulfill the mitzvah for him?
He did hafroshes truma,
Right.
but there wasn't the there's a mitzvah nesinas truma to give it. Wait one second. So if you're dealing with makiri kun, as we said before, he's the only Kohen. So therefore, when I tithe it, I gave it to him. But now we're taking the Bryce quoting. It says "Cheskos also shevet." You're taking it from the whole shevet. Did you give it to any one of the quantum in the shevet? You never gave it to any one of the quantum in the shevet. So what about your obligation to give truma? You never to give it away. You never gave it away. Chazal said, you just hold it. It's okay. But what about the mitzvah that's incumbent upon you that you have to give it away? You never gave it away. Maybe that's passive, right? But seemingly every moment you withhold it, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah, right? Here you're retaining it. Is it like a person, let's say, steals something and he does not return it to the rightful owner? Every moment you're holding it, you're in violation of stealing, because you have something that you have no right to have. Would that be the case by truma? You have an obligation to give away the truma, to tithe and give it. You haven't given it. So every moment you don't give it, you're in violation of not giving it. Could you differentiate? David differentiated between the story with the Chofetz Chaim and the Gemara by Rav Safra.
We gave it too much. We gave the law a long time ago. Could it serve as the... you don't have to give it right away.
Who will never give it. He will never give this truma.
He'll never give it.
He's going to sell it on the open market. The Yisrael, who's the lender, is going to sell this truma on the open
So
market.
what was the purpose of doing the truma in the first place?
No, because you have to tithe. You can't eat grain or produce from Eretz Yisrael unless you tithe it first. He had an agreement with the person, with the borrower. I'll lend you the money, although you have no means to return it. The truma that I'll tithe in the future, I'll take that on your behalf, and that will be the payment. The man dies. So when he's ready to tithe, the man's no longer alive. Right? So, Rabbi Lesman Yaakov says, not a problem. If the loan was done in Bezdin, you take it, and you take it from the shevet. If you take it from the shevet, that means no individual Kohen received it. Right? So if nobody received it, so how do you retain it? Right? You have an obligation to give it away. You never gave it away. No, I haven't yet fulfilled the mitzvah. No, said. By the end of the day, didn't fulfill the mitzvah. Here, you're going to eat the truma. You're going to eat, or you're going to sell it. You're destroying it. If he just leaves it wet, so good. But here, he's going to benefit from that truma. The truma that he should give away, he should give it to the Kohen. He's selling it off. That's not actively being mevatel the mitzvah.
If you separate the truma and give it away, can you eat the rest of it?
Yes, a separate thing. Wait a second, but what's the value of the truma to him? The truma is going to be the payment of his debt, of his loan. So how does it, evidence he's going to do something with it. He's going to convert it into usable capital. He's going to sell it on the open market to a Kohen. That Kohen is not going to receive it. He's going to pay for it. And the proceeds of that sale is going to pay off the debt.
If the Beit Din has the power, when that loan is issued, to say that the tribe of Kohanim is a guarantor for the loan.
Okay.
If they have the power to do this, then I can see how this can work.
How does it work?
Well, if a man dies, the whole tribe of Kohanim are now on the hook
Okay.
to pay back the loan.
So if he gives it,
Now, if he
wait.
can-
So if he would give it to a Kohen, right? And that Kohen would take it and return it to pay off as the guarantor. It's not a problem. He received it. Who did he receive it from? From the tither, from the lender. Okay, not a problem. But here we say it doesn't make a difference. He could separate it. He could separate tithes, and then he just takes it.
No, because once that man dies, this truma belongs to the whole tribe.
Okay, terrific.
Okay. So
And now he's taking
And
it.
now the tribe is a guarantor for the loan, so
Now,
he takes it.
which Kohen received it? According to the answer by Kiri Kuna.
Any tribe, any Kohen can receive it.
But he didn't give it to a Kohen. He didn't give it. He's selling it.
Because every Kohen is now...
Even if he's a guarantor. But he has to receive it. The tither has to fulfill the mitzvah of giving it away. He never gave it away. The Gemara answered before, Makir Kuna. It's Makir Kuna. He did give it away. The tithing is the equivalent of giving it away because there's one Kohen. Here, which Kohen did you give it to? I gave it to the tribe. Maybe. You gave it to the tribe. You gave it. It's like Makir Kuna.
Yeah, just he gave it to the tribe.
And the tribe has no say in the matter. Because Chazal said this, you're all responsible to pay that debt, regardless whether you're agreeable or not agreeable.
Because I structured the transaction.
No, but I'm saying it's the equivalent of Makir Kuna. Normally, the case where you have your designated Kohen who receives, Rashi said before, all other Kohanim, they step aside because they know they're not getting it. So it's the equivalent. He's the sole Kohen in the world. So the tithing, I've actually put it into his domain. That's the giving. Here, but let's say it would not be Makir Kuna. Kohen says, look, I'm not interested in paying that Kohen's debt. I'm not relinquishing my right in that case. He doesn't relinquish his rights, then you'd never fulfill the mitzvah. Because why that Kohen has more right to it than any other Kohen? The other Kohen, they're coming with their claim. But if the Chazal say that the Shevet are the guarantors, they have nothing to say. So it's as if what? When you set it aside, it's as if you're giving to the whole tribe. You gave it to the whole tribe. What would be, there's a deposit box, which represents the tribe, and I deposit my truma there. And now they'll work it out which Kohen receives it. Did I fulfill my mitzvah? I fulfilled my mitzvah. I put it in the deposit box. That's it. Same. That would be the case here. Makir, correct. And if anything happens to it, he fulfilled the mitzvah. Let's say he would damage it. He separates it, then he damages it. If you damage truma before you give it, it's called mam shein lo tovim. There's no claimant. Because he said, who said I would give it to you? I'd give it to someone else. But if you have your designated Kohen that you normally give it to when you tithe it, and then if you would damage it, the man has a claim against you. You're a damager. And no, they all have, but no individual Kohen could say, I'm the damagee. That's called mam shein lo tovim. It's money which there's no one person claim, I am the victim, I am the damagee. Therefore, you can push each one off. But if it's Makir Kuna, which it's considered his truma the moment you tithe it, so if subsequently you destroy it or damage it, you have to compensate that person for that damage.
Why is it that you don't have a designated that you have to move it to somebody's domain?
Because the mitzvah is to give it. The mitzvah, you have to give it.
Just separating it, and he's going to come take it for himself.
He's not supposed to. He's not supposed to take it himself. You have to give it.
Give it to him no matter what.
You have to give it. But what about the tithing is the equivalent of the giving? You put it into his domain. Because he's the sole Kohen in the world.
Right, but I'm asking,
That's
when
giving
you
it.
do that,
That's giving it.
You actually have to, mechanically, you have to put it in his domain, or you separate
But
it.
I'm telling you, Makir Kuna is you put it in his domain. That is in his domain. You've caused it to be his. The tithe by separating.
And leaving it in your
But if you have multiple Kohanim, then the separating is you've created truma. You didn't put it in that one Kohen's domain. You have put it in one individual Kohen's domain, which you haven't done. If there are multiple Kohanim.
There's
When
two
you
steps.
separate it from-
Normally
first
the
step
two-step
separating.
is
As soon as
tithing.
you separate,
Now the
then
mitzvah is to
everything's
give.
eligible for you to
Right, to
benefit
give.
from,
Now
and
you
then
have
you still have a clear
to give it.
What's the time limit yet? What's the time limit?
Well, the Torah speaks. No, we said after 3 years you have to clean out the house. Right? B'yatei HaKodesh min habayis. The 4th year, everything has to be given away. Not only truma, meiser, meiser oni, meiser sheni, everything. All your obligations have to be actually utilized or expended the way they should be.
It's not a 3 yontif rule.
No, it's not baltaf.
It's 3 or so.
Right.
If you separate for your makir, if you have a makir and you separate for it, you become a shomer shena in terms of what your responsibilities are for the kohen, in terms of damage.
See, it's no worse than a shomer aveda. Right? You find something, a lost article. Right?
I'm saying. So what the kohen can claim is based on what kind of
No, you're not a shomer. You're not a shomer. You're not a shomer. I don't accept to be a shomer.
So, I want to ask a question about the power that the Chazal have. It said that they have the ability to cause someone to be passive in the face of...
Not to perform in a passive.
Not to perform in the face of a positive command. And even one step further, they could uproot the command.
If they choose.
If they choose. Do the Chazal have the ability to designate Truma as Chulin?
No. They have.
Could they do this?
Not Chulin. They say you could eat it, although it's Truma. If they choose to say that, they could do it.
They could do that, but they couldn't remove the Truma
So
status.
let me make a point. We just had in last week's parsha. Kiyokum mikibcha novi. And he proves that he's a true prophet. And he tells you to do idolatry. He's a false prophet. What about he tells you to do something which is contrary to the Torah? Again, what about he tells you to do something only on a temporary basis, and he's already an established Navi? You accept his word. That's Eliyahu Parakarmen.
He does what?
He tells you something which is contrary to the Torah, but it's not he doesn't want to uproot it, it's just because of the moment. No. Let's say bringing a korban outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Right? It's Eliyahu Bar Carmel. Right? You weren't permitted, but for the sake of, he felt, to prove what he had to prove, he did it. Right? So let's say Chazal would say, we're going to uproot. We said they're empowered to uproot. What about to uproot it on a passive level? From now on, we don't blow shofar any longer. They were never empowered to do such a thing. It's only because it's the circumstance. It happens to be because there's a concern somebody may transport in public domain. Therefore, that particular moment, this year we don't. But the mitzvah is still intact. That's not called uprooting the mitzvah. For instance, there's a famous question that Taz asks. The Gemara says that, Rabbah says, that why don't we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos? He may transport a dalam shusarab. Okay? Wait. The Mishnah says in Deyo, in the 5th parak, that you're not permitted to use a musical instrument on Shabbos and Yom Tiv. You're not permitted to clap, to dance, and betapchein merakdim, shem yisak klishir. Because if you have a musical instrument, you may actually fashion it, or you may perfect it. It's makkah b'patish. So the Taz asks, what does the rabbi have to give the reason why you don't blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, which falls on Shabbos? Because he may transport it to be taught by a teacher how to blow it. It's a musical instrument. Shem yisak klishir. You're not permitted to play a musical instrument on Shabbos and Yom Tiv. Right? So he says, because if they would give that reason, you wouldn't be permitted to blow the shofar on Yom Tov either. They would be uprooting the mitzvah. But if it's only a question of transporting, so as a result of that, it's not a problem. Because it's only on a temporary basis. So on a temporary basis, there you're protecting the Torah. So we said, why isn't that Bal Tosef? Why isn't every rabbinic enactment, why isn't it Bal Tosef? Why isn't that adding? Because the purpose is to protect. But if they legislate in a way where the mitzvah will never be fulfilled, that's not called protecting. That's called uprooting the mitzvah, right? You'll never fulfill the mitzvah ever again. That's about tigra. You're minimizing. You're detracting from the Torah. So the Taz says, therefore, the Gemara gives the reason that you may transport, which is only limited to Rosh Hashanah when it falls out on Shabbos. With Makiri Kuna? Could I ask you a question? A person who's an heir, and his father dies, and he's wait, one second. The Torah says that inheritance belongs to there's only one heir, one. How does it become his? Because Torah says that when a person dies, the assets transfer into the domain of the heir. If there are multiple heirs, we have to determine who gets what, right? That's the estate. We have to whose is what. But if there's one heir, a ben yochid, one single son, it's his immediately, right? There's no probate. It goes directly into his domain. If there's one Kohen, that's his domain. The Torah says Truma belongs to the Shevet. The Shevet is comprised of one Kohen. So if that's the case, the tithing immediately, I put it in his domain. But it's a reality. Torah says Truma is Mammon HaShevet. The Shevet is comprised of one Kohen, so he's the Shevet. He has it. It's in his domain. And the act of tithing brought it into his domain simultaneously.
just like the question about that limitations for their bond. So it seems that you're saying that they have the ability beyond Shevi al Tasa. They could
They choose to.
Right, they choose to. So in this the situation shofar, the Chazal have determined that Ketton Shabbos is more important than shofar because it's not just Shevi al.
But it's Shevel. It is no. If it would be Shevel Taseh, maybe not. Maybe not. If it wouldn't be Shevel Taseh, it would be Kumvaseh. They wouldn't do it.
But they are entitled to if they want to.
But maybe they wouldn't have.
But they're entitled to. So they have determined.
They're empowered. They're empowered.
So they have determined that one mitzvah has a greater, for lack of a better term, value than the other. So let me just use another example. Bris milah. So we're allowed to perform a bris on Shabbos, but we're not capable of, if the baby's in point A and the knife is in point B, one cannot take that knife to the baby, even if it's being further run.
Even if it's what?
Even if it's not
The doraisa, the violation.
Even if it's a running violation, because
It's
right.
But that's offense.
Right. So the Rabbanan have determined that bris milah is not.
Yeah, but that's something which is limited to that particular moment. Rosh Hashanah falling out on Shabbos, it has relevance to every Jew in the world.
Right.
So therefore they said, we're concerned. Jews may transport the shofar. This one child won't be circumcised. So it'll be a milah shelo b'zmano. It'll be circumcised on the 9th day rather than on the 8th day. Okay?
And that, so
That's okay. Now, see, there's a different question which Tosas asks. Tosas asked the question. We have milah on Shabbos. Child's born on Shabbos, he's circumcised on Shabbos. Why are we concerned? As you're concerned if somebody, the moel will transport the knife, right? Or the father will transport the knife. So Tosas gives one answer, the Miri gives another answer. Tosas answers because only an expert does milah. So therefore there's no concern he's going to transport the knife to be taught. Okay, that's Tosas' answer. The Miri answers like it says like the Taz. How do we know that milah is docha Shabbos? Because it says Yom Hashmini. Yom. The word it could have said Shmini. What does it say? Yom Hash. The word Yom is extra. Yom afilu b'Shabbos. That even if the 8th day falls on Shabbos, it supersedes the Shabbos. It's as if the Torah says explicitly, you must do the circumcision on Shabbos. So if the Chazal would say that, what about transporting? It's contrary to the Torah. Because here the Torah says specifically, we want you to circumcise on Shabbos, not to be concerned. So that they can't do. That's the equivalent of uprooting the mitzvah. That's the Miri's answer, which is basically what the Taz says. Okay, let's go further. So Mafar Shalem Chesos Shevet Desoni Bebezdin Desoni Bebezdin Umes Mafar Olav Becheskes Ani Yisrael. If the money was lent to a poor man in Bezdin, and now you want to take the Masa Oni as payment of the debt, Yemafar Olav Becheskes Ani Yisrael. There were other poor out there. You're taking it, separating it is theirs. Now you're taking it back. Ravachai Omer B'Cheskes Ani Olam, the poor of the world, the poor of the world versus the poor of Yisrael. Seemingly, it's not so simple to Jews. Now, if they're not a Jew, they have no claim to the Maisa Oni. Maisa Oni is only given to a Jew. What about a person that's Maisa Oni gives to a Gentile? It's not. No, he's stealing from Aniyim, from Jewish poor people. The money is what is reserved for Jews, not for. You have a fund, it's for a particular type of person, you give it to another person. That's stealing, you're not permitted. 1 second. What's the difference between these two opinions? What about if the poor are Kuthites? Right? He says, let's say there are no poor in the community, but they're poor which are kusim. They said you're taking it, we said, the aniyim from other communities, they forego the maisa oni in that community, because they say each community takes care of its own poor. And now you have no aniyim, but you have kusim. Ani kusim. So if they're Jews, so then, Chazal said, they're responsible, they're the guarantors on the loan. So if they're the guarantors on the loan, then you could take payment from But they never said if they're not Jewish that they're the guarantors on the loan. Therefore, you cannot take payment. So the one who says Adi Olam, they're of the opinion that they are Jews. Kusim or Geri Emes, they're considered true converts. So they are the guarantors on the loan. But if you're the Geri Arroyos, it was due to fear of being killed, they're not Jews, so then they're not the guarantors. So therefore you can't take it. Imaf Sholov. V'zochalo. B'masha biyodo. Now the Gemara asks a phenomenal question. We're saying, the Mishnah says, what happens if the Oni becomes wealthy? He becomes wealthy, then you forfeited your location of payment. Correct? Oni v'heshi, you forfeited. Even if the loan was done in Bezdin. Even if it was done in Bezdin, they did not make a takana that you could be mafresh on behalf of other aniyim. So Gemara asks, Maestro lebisa davidra takonto maestro lashis lo takana. If the debtor dies, we want the lender to be satisfied. So we say, the money is transferred from other aniyim to cover the debt of the man who died. But if the debtor becomes wealthy, nobody has to cover his debt. Why not? The whole idea is you're going to discourage the lender from lending. They should have made a special takana. Because we want people to provide money for poor people. And if they're not going to be compensated, they're not lending money. So why did they make a takana for Misa, not a takana for Ashirus, where the poor man becomes wealthy? So more answers, Misa shchicha, Ashirus lo shchicha. Everybody dies eventually. Just because a person is poor, he doesn't eventually become wealthy. Or come above poverty. Therefore, one is something which is more prevalent. The other is mislo shchicha. It's something which is unusual. Because it's unusual, they didn't make a takana for an unusual situation. Amar Appa behind the Amri Inchi. Chabrach mis asher. If somebody tells you your fellow died, you could assume it's the truth. It's asher. They say so and so became wealthy. Lo tasher. It's not so simple to believe. Because death, everybody eventually dies. Did he die? Didn't he die? But eventually he's going to die. It's within the realm of reality. The other is not the equivalent of reality. Unless factually became wealthy. Many years ago, I had an incident. The Iranians first came right before the Shah fell. So they had hundreds of Iranian students, came from observant families, came to the United States to be enrolled in yeshivas in America, United States. The majority of them came from Shiraz. The Jews in Shiraz were observant. Tehran was a very secularized city, and most of the Jews were not observant Jews. But Shiraz, they had the Masorah. The families married one another going back 1,000 years. Not Mashad. Mashad is something else. You're half Iranian, aren't you? Okay. I'm telling you, these people, they came from Shiraz. You have clients. Okay. They pay these clients. Okay. Okay. So what happened was they came. Many of them went to Atlanta, Georgia. The ones who went to Atlanta, Georgia, many of them intermarried. Once they were out of their environment, because they were not really properly educated Jewishly, they only did things by rote. So a very large group came to Baltimore. And some went to yeshiva, enrolled, and some enrolled in Hopkins and the universities in Maryland. So there was a certain young man who was in yeshiva, and he says to me, once in a while his brother had an apartment in town. He says he can't go there because his brother has a shiksa girlfriend, and for him to be in the apartment when she's there, can't handle it, can't deal with it. I said, I said, tell your brother I want to speak to him. So his brother comes to see me. So I said to him, you were raised observant. This is unacceptable. So why are you doing it? He says, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I said, but the Torah says. He says, I don't even know if the Torah is true. So I said, you don't know. But he says, it was given thousands of years. Was I there? I said to him, do you believe in it? Do you believe in the Holocaust? I said, you weren't there either. But do you believe there was a Holocaust? He says, definitely. So I said, why do you believe in the Holocaust? The answer is, because the world says there was a Holocaust. So if every Jew says there was a Sinai, so even though we weren't there, that's the basis for the authenticity of Torah. So why are you differentiating? He said to me, I'll tell you the truth. Whether there was a Holocaust, whether there wasn't a Holocaust, really doesn't make a difference to me. One thing I know, anti-Semitism is a reality. They're anti-Semites. I know that. Was it, wasn't, it's irrelevant. But whether the Torah was given by God or not, that makes a difference in my life. Therefore, till it's factually proven to me, I don't accept it. That was the end of the discussion. I appreciated his honesty. And that was it. People die, that's a fact. People become wealthy, doesn't happen that often. Person's below the poverty line, then he becomes wealthy. The same idea. A little further.
So if he lent it to a poor person, and he had that deal, and now the guy becomes wealthy, so you can't take it from him.
Correct.
The wealthy guy owes him the money.
He owes him the money.
Right. So now
Correct.
So he can go, but he can't collect theoretically. There's nothing.
No, he doesn't owe him the money. The wealthy man does not owe him the money any longer. Yeah, because the agreement was you collect from there. Can't collect, it's the problem. That was the agreement. I could only, not from me. Doesn't make a difference. The lender agreed. The lender agreed. No. The lender made a bad deal. That's what he did.
He should have said, I've got my choice.
Right. If you can't pay, then you'll pay. If I can't collect. Matzorach lito rishus, mes tzotli rishus. It says that if he dies, the debtor dies, he has to ask permission from the heirs, from the children, could he collect from their portion of the truma, or from their maisoni. Tanya, Rebbe Omer, Yorshin she Yorshu. Which Yorshim? The heirs that inherit. It's a little contradictory. I mean, if you're an heir, you inherit. The Gemara asks, Miki Yorshit lo Yarsi. I mean, are the heirs that don't? If you're an heir, that means you inherit. You collect from the heirs that inherit. Elom Rebbe Yochanan she Yorshu Karka. Lo she Yorshu Ksofim. The heirs that inherit karka, fixed property, but not movables. Why? Because the whole idea is you're going to take the truma. Over here he explains. Yeah, because when you're dealing with property, we talk about a lien. The property is lien to what? To the loan. Movables are not liened. So therefore, if there's a lien, so the debt is connected to the heirs. Therefore, they could say our truma, our maisoni, will be attributed to the debt. But if there's no connection between the children and the father in terms of the lender, then he has no claim to them. They can't make this kind of deal. So now the question is, how large is that property? Let's say the property is a fraction of the loan. Could he only collect the amount of that he has a claim against the father, meaning the lien? The lien, what was the deal? I will not collect from your property, I will collect from the truma. I will not collect from I will collect from the masa'oni. Okay, but how much could you collect from the property? So now the heirs inherit the land. And it's a fraction of the debt. It's the same idea. To be continued.